What's up, everyone? Welcome to the show. We are doing a Physio Monday on Tuesday today, which is actually Monday over in the United States and the rest of the world. We're in a time warp in Australia. But today we're going to be answering your questions, all things physio related. So get them in and stick around. What's up, everyone? In case we haven't met, my name's Rad Burmeister. I am joined by Phil White, our resident physiotherapist. We are Unity Gym and the Unify Movement System, where we make driven people strong, flexible, and athletic. If you want to know how we do that, grab one of our free blueprints. We have the strength blueprint, the flexibility blueprint, and the nutrition blueprint. There's some really valuable information there for you guys if you want to get started and understand our philosophies and how we do things. And you can download it by clicking on one of the links in the YouTube description if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening to the podcast, just check it out in the comments. And come and join the rabbit hole, which is the Unify Movement System. And also come and join the private Facebook group, the UMS Movement Mastermind. Search Facebook for it. That's where we record these podcasts live and answer your questions. It's free to join and a great resource for all of you. How are you, Phil?
Very well. Zany on the front seats this week because Yanni's out of action today, and also we're doing this Physio Tuesday, which is just totally out of the ordinary. But we had a public holiday here on Mondays, so this is our 4-day week.
Yeah. That's it.
So for everyone who missed out on the show on the podcast yesterday, that is why. We're having a nice time.
Yep. It's funny. We always, whenever we have a public holiday or a day off, or even on the weekends, there's always one or two emails of people getting a little bit antsy that we haven't responded to them, in a timely manner. And we'd like to remind you that we have lives outside of work. We have families, and when public holidays come around, we too like to take a little bit of a break. So that's why we didn't. And I was still at the gym yesterday. We actually do offer one class a day on a public holiday at Unity Gym, which I taught yesterday. Richard and Yanni had the day off because I had the day off on Friday. And so we still did that, but anyway, that's why we're in here on Monday. And on Tuesday doing our Monday's show. So we're doing Physio Monday today, and we've got a couple
little questions here, but today's a really good opportunity if you do have questions and you're tuned in live to jump on and get them answered, because we'll probably have a little bit of time to get to them. So
we're going to get this show done probably within the next 15 minutes so that we can jump over to the UMS online coaching group and provide those folks that are in there with some specific coaching. So get your physio questions in now. And even if you don't have any physio questions, just give us a little hi. I'm watching from wherever you're watching from in the world, so we can give you a shout out. I can see we've got a bunch of people on the live stream.
And do remember, if you are putting questions up which are injury or physio related on the Facebook group, to just tag my name, so Phil White, in it, so I can find them nice and easily.
Yeah. All right, let's go, Phil. What do we got?
So we'll get into, there's two that are kind of related to back pain today, which is nice when they're sort of on theme. We'll start with Becca Perry's, who I did say we'd get to the week before last, but we had a lot of questions in, so we'll get to Becca today, who's actually posted on the online coaching group, which is I'm sure you guys all know what the online coaching is by now. So she said, I've been dealing with upper back pain for years. I went to a PT about it about a year ago, who told me my thoracic rotation was very limited. So Becca's American, right? So the PT would be a physical therapist, so physio in Australia. We call personal trainers PTs here, so that's the confusion. What would be a good dosage for thoracic rotation exercise to see improvement in my range of motion? I can't seem to beat this upper back pain / ache. So just at the beginning of all Physio Monday / Tuesday / Friday shows, like to make sure that remember this is a information general kind of education session, not a specific one-on-one treatment. So do keep in mind that this is general advice. Really, I like to give people questions that they can ask their own healthcare practitioners. But you definitely need to do a online consultation with me if you want more specifics. But with upper back pain and thoracic rotation exercises, rotation limitations is probably one of the most common things in modern society, really.
So that's the inability to rotate left and right, is it? Yeah.
So with your back, with your spine, you've got your lumbar spine. Well, you got your sacrum, which is like kind of the right where your pelvis attaches into your spine at the bottom. You got your lumbar spine, which is the lower 5 vertebra, and then you've got 12 vertebra between until your neck, which are your thoracic vertebra.
Is the thoracic spine, do all 12 of the thoracic spine vertebra have ribs connecting to them or not?
You have 12 ribs.
Yeah, and each of the 12 ribs connects to one of the thoracic vertebrae, is that correct?
No. Well, yes. Like you've got basically you've got different types of ribs, but you have a rib from each of them, but like your T12 and...
So T12 has a rib connecting to it?
Yes, T12 at the back has a rib connecting to it, but the T12 and 11 are floating ribs, and then you've got your false ribs up until, I think, T5, which are basically, they start as ribs and then they turn into cartilage and connect underneath through your sternum, and then from your sternum you've got your true ribs, which are where they get like a bony attachment from sternum to rib. So so that's what we're talking about here, and that's your thoracic spine. And then if you've heard your cervical spine or C-spine, that's your neck, basically. So just to get a
How many vertebrae in the cervical?
7.
7. Yeah.
7, and so generally it's to kind of orient yourself. Like the one that sticks out the most, the big kind of bumpy one there is C7. So
C7.
Kind of anything up from there is
the neck. Yep.
Yeah,
cool.
And so the different parts of the spine have different kind of movements that they like and different movements that they will generally struggle with. And with the thoracic spine, often kind of rotation. Rotation's a really important thing in the upper back, but because of how in modern life we use our bodies, most of the time rotation is definitely a limiting factor for a lot of people, because the way that we spend our days is generally hunched over a computer, and then in our downtime it's hunched over a phone or driving or on the couch or reading. So all of these activities where basically we go into this pretty curled over position, our shoulder blades get more and more protracted, our pecs get tighter from basically a lack of movement variability. And so basically when you get stuck in that sort of position, it then becomes much harder to rotate. So it's a really common thing that I see, and when doing the movement tests for here at UMS, doing things like the overhead squat, the thoracic extension is often one of the things that's really people struggle with. So we spend a lot of time here at Unity with the foam roller thoracic extensions and the pec stretches to really try and open up and get a bit more movement through the thoracic. So yeah, it's a very common issue, Becca, so you're definitely
not alone.
Yeah, and
her question was about how much dosage is right.
Yeah, so basically asking that how much rotation she should be doing. So the thing to keep in mind is looking at the movement that is limited is not always the way that you then doing more of that movement is not necessarily how you facilitate that movement, particularly when it comes to something like your thoracic spine, where you've kind of got a lot going on with shoulder posture will really impact it, and basically also like flexion and extension ability will also really impact it. So definitely a good idea to work the rotation, and with the UMS warm up, like you've got the squats with the elbow lifts are working on rotation, so you do get a little bit day to day. Also the spinal mobility stuff is gold for just adding in combination movement. So that's a combination of, with the spine you can go flexion extension, lateral flexion to either side, and then rotation. So doing the spinal mobility is a great way of getting a good kind of combination movement. So there's a good bit of dosage if you can get that in there. And then where thoracic rotation gets a bit interesting is there's a few schools of thought on rotation. We have talked about this before in the shows, with some people saying your spine doesn't like rotation if you do too much of it, and so therefore you shouldn't train rotation exercises. But I think that kind of is particularly with the thoracic, less of a bit less controversial, but also I don't understand why people treat like one movement totally differently
to everything else in the body.
Everything else,
Doesn't
and
make
like
sense,
so
does it?
the studies that everything this is all based off. I won't go too deep into the weeds. Is basically looking at with cadavers, so dead bodies, and then they just kept on wrenching their spine into rotation, and
until it busted.
and then the discs gave out. And it's like, well, that's not how human bodies work.
It's
We
not.
have regenerative processes.
That's exactly right.
And we think about loading principles. So long story short, Becca, I think one of the best things you can do is keep on, like with the way that the UMS program is set up, it's all about trying to give each body system the best, like exposure to all of its main movements. So really double down on the leg strengthening days on your upper body mobility, because it's very easy sometimes to get focused on the strength and then maybe not put as much into your upper body mobility. So plenty of that pec stretching. I'd even like the release stuff can be good, but I'd even kind of go more like active mobility and start really doubling down on that active mobility where you're looking at chest opening and extension as well. And then for thoracic rotation exercise, I think generally the way to go is when you're actually going through the rotations, do that. You can do unweighted exercise, so like the squat rotations, or the ones where you're in 4-point kneeling and you reach through under your arms, or the open book or archer stretches on your back, which you can look up. But then with strengthening, doing some anti-rotation is a really nice way to go about it. So like a Pallof press, P-A-L-L-O-F press.
Yep, that's in the UMS as well, the Pallof press. In the progressions program for those of you that have access to it. The my 2 cents on that one as well. Everything that Phil said, clearly I agree with, and I wouldn't very rarely ever debate Phil on anything to do with physio and rehabilitation or anything like that. But the only thing I would say as well, Becca, is what I find personally. I like to just a couple of times a day. If you're watching live, to actually just actively rotate my spine. So I'll just, I stopped talking there because I was turning away from the microphone, but I'm basically just, for those of you listening on the podcast, I'm turning my head and shoulders as far as they'll go from left to right. Not fast at all, but what I'm basically trying to do is once I've turned as far as I can go, I'm trying to go just another inch if I can, whilst I'm keeping my hips facing forward. And I find that to be a really nice, gentle thing to do. And my 2 cents on it, to go back to your question, how much should I do? If it's active mobility, like almost anything in the spine mobility masterclass or in the UMS warm-up that isn't the Jefferson curl, that isn't the loaded stuff, it's like saying, I'm trying to think of a likeness, but forget it. It's not really relevant. I think you just can't do too much of it, really. To move you, I think the danger is more what's the least amount I should do rather than what's too much, because we sit down for so much of our time. And I love Phil's saying, what's the best posture for you? Well, the best posture is the next posture. So just this idea of, if you've been sitting down for ages, get up, do some rotation, do some lateral flexion, do a couple of spinal waves. Like for me, those are the biggest things that I do. When I get up and stand up out of a seat, I do some mobility for my hip flexors. I try and bring my hips into extension because they've been stuck in flexion for so long. And I just do a little bit of spine mobility and even bring my shoulders up into flexion like that. Just to try and combat all of the like this, and just a little bit of it whenever you think of it is awesome, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's all about that movement variability, and talking about why this is such a big plague on modern life is because of how we spend most of our day. So if you can spend more of your day with movement variability, changing how you're actually moving and getting into different positions, then you're going to be a whole lot better off. But yeah, with all this, I guess with our approach to flexibility and mobility and strength, like we always talk about, if you're really pushing, so with the Pallof press, for example, like you do that in a way where you'll get 72 hours between exercises, and then with the kind of low level mobility stuff, then the more of that the better, but just make sure you're getting a bit in every day.
Yep. All right, who's next, Phil?
And
Michael?
Well, Diane Norbury's just tuned in, and g'day to Lee Clements as well. And she's
hey guys.
saying chest opening exercises with foam roller really helped my thoracic mobility for weightlifting. Yeah, excellent. And with the foam roller, like I think there's the two kind of main ones that people do, where you either go vertical on your spine and do like a pec stretch chest opening, or you go horizontal on your spine and then go segmentally up each segment and get a bit of rotation in each. So really good tool there. So the other one we're getting to is Michael Hunter on the Movement Mastermind group, who has a question about basically his lower back. So he said recovering from hip, lumbar slash SI joint. So SI joint is the sacroiliac joint. So again, that's where the sacrum attaches, which is the part of your spine that attaches to your pelvis attaches. Issue which has been aggravated by both yoga and weightlifting in the past. We'll see a PT, so physical therapist again today. Okay, to go for the 18-minute routine on sale, or do you recommend the hip and back rehab instead? What's the main difference? Looking forward to prevent future reoccurrences, as each time it happens, I lose a month or more of progress. So maybe, Rad, do you want to jump in and first talk about the differences between the programs?
Yes, absolutely. I was trying to find Becca's question just then.
I've already posted the link.
Yeah, right. Okay. So talking about the difference between the 18-minute routine that's on sale or the hip and back rehab,
yes,
they're totally different programs. So the 18-minute mobility routine is a daily mobility routine that is best done either at the end of your workout as a cool down or as a standalone routine to keep your body moving on days that you're not training, or just even if you feel like you want to get up and do a quick bit of mobility to keep your body moving, like what we just described. The hip and back rehab program is designed to strengthen and condition the hips and the lower back. And the reason why it's the hip and back, it's just the nature of the hip strengthening exercises that are in that hip and back rehab program. They really help with the lower back as well. One of the go-to things to alleviate chronic lower back pain is glute strengthening exercises and things like that. So, recovering from a hip lumbar SI joint issue which has been aggravated by both yoga and weightlifting in the past, I would definitely go for the hip and lower back rehab program if you were going to choose one or the other.
So the thing that I really want to talk about here is like generally why things have started, and you're looking at the activities that have hurt you in the past. It's been yoga and weightlifting. So with yoga, obviously it's all about into extremes of range of motion. So you're really pushing to end range, and with weightlifting, it's kind of fairly ballistic movement. And I'm not sure about your training history, Michael, but you might have done weightlifting for a long time, but often it's a really challenging exercise modality for people to get into, because it just is so technically difficult, and especially once you start adding weight, like everything becomes kind of harder and higher and higher risk. So it like with most injuries, they come from either a load management issue or a basically not being able to deal with the end range movement. And so I think the thing to think about with both yoga and weightlifting is generally you're getting to with weightlifting, if you are, I guess you should clarify here if you're talking about Olympic weightlifting or just general gym training, because if you're just on weight machines, then that's a very different story. But I'm going to assume that you're talking about Olympic weightlifting here, and basically like if you're getting down into an explosive bottom of a squat to do a clean or a snatch, then controlling that end of range is really challenging, and that's often where people do get aggravated by hip lumbar spine and SI joint pains. So I guess the thing to think about again is, as we've talked about a lot with people kind of get the idea with yoga and intense stretching that's somehow magically therapeutic and will loosen everything up and make everything work better. But when you think about what the back likes, is it likes to be strong and stable. So I definitely recommend getting on that hip and back rehab program as a way of building in general strength around that hip and lower back. But also the really key thing there is to also be very good about technique when you're doing your squats and deadlifts, which are the best rehab exercises you can do if you do them well. But so often people just lack a bit of kind of good technique around those big lifts, and therefore if you get a bit of technique wrong as well as getting your loading parameters wrong, then that's where injury happens. So I would definitely recommend getting some, posting some videos with the exercises that generally are challenging for you and get some feedback on it. And if you're on the online coaching group, you can get a whole lot of feedback. But I'd still say take the strength route, strengthen within a range that is comfortable and easy for you, and then start to build out that range.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, and so much of my opinion on this has come from working so closely to Phil. But I'm going to take a moment to say this and give it a little bit of a shameless or shameful plug, because we did extend the offer for the UMS online coaching free trial by a week, and this is the last opportunity to get that program where you get access to all of this. So if you did that, you'd actually get both those programs in it. And I think, I can't remember if we finished that offer today or on last weekend that just passed. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's finished. But yeah, that'd be phenomenal for you, mate, because you'd be able to get access to both those programs, and you can ask us more specific
yeah, particularly in the, like for you, I'd really be keen to see your technique, because usually when people kind of aggravate those structures, it is a lack of control in technique under load. So yeah, if you can get on that and get on the online coaching calls, which we do,
which we're about to do right now,
then that would be probably the way to go.
Yeah. So, but I'm
really glad to see you're working with someone.
Yeah.
And yeah, just make sure they're giving you a nice active approach and not signing up for years of acupuncture.
Yeah. That's it. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. For those of you that are in the UMS online coaching group, come and join us right now, where we're going to go live and give you some specific coaching help.
Acupuncture could be replaced there by any passive modality.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
All right, guys, have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Health is about performance, not just body image.
You better be willing to accept what you're going to have to do to get there.
We'll start focusing on movement goals, strength goals, flexibility goals.
When you nail that skill, it's there forever.
The body image goal doesn't get you that
It's
far.
the consistency and frequency that's going to get you there. It's not the intensity.
There's no shortcuts to mastery and movement. Destination doesn't change overnight, but your direction will.
The gym is not the place to beat up the body that you hate. It's the place to build the body that you love.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.